Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.
Jack, you joined us in Business Matters last year, but how has MediaHQ been performing since then?
Yeah, very well. Like we grew last year, we're growing this year. We're up to nearly 1,000 PR people around the world using the software to find journalists and send out stories. So yeah, it's been a good period of growth and expansion for us.
And over the past 12 to 18 months, we've been hearing how AI has been impacting various sectors. So what opportunities and challenges does AI pose for those working in the world of PR?
Well, for me, I started out MediaHQ as a printed media directory book. So as you can imagine, I've turned it into a piece of software. So I've always been pro-innovation. I think one of the greatest opportunities that AI offers is on the ability to create usable content, and that, there's always a challenge with that as well. We have an AI tool in MediaHQ now where you answer 5 questions and it'll write a perfect press release with 5 perfect headlines or a pitch email. I would argue that that's a really good way to eliminate stress, produce work. I've written a book, Karl, and I wouldn't go in hands with writing a headline on a press release. I'm talking to you today because I sent you an AI-generated subject line on an email and you responded to it. So I think the opportunities are huge.
What impact is this having for your clients?
I always say to people, like a press release, it's not Anna Karenina, it's not W.B. Yeats. It's a functional piece of English to get coverage for your story. So anything that allows you to do it better with more expertise. And look, there's a full spectrum here. There'll be professional PR people listening to this who'll throw their eyes to heaven. But, the AI tools that we have built will deliver you a brilliant first draft every time. And it kind of levels up people. Not everybody, a writing skill is a very particular skill on a team. Not everybody has that skill. And with AI now, everybody can have a level of expertise that ups the quality on the stories that are being shared.
When it comes to AI, one of the criticisms currently is it lacks feeling and emotion. Is that any way of an inhibitor?
I think one of the greatest problems with AI is you and I have been around long enough to know the difference between good and bad. We have a level of taste and and experience. People who are coming in who are in their early 20s into an industry don't have that kind of backstop, or they don't have that resource in which to go into. So they don't know bad from good. I think when you understand what great quality looks like, it's much easier to use the tools. It's akin to you give a set of golf clubs to somebody who knows how to golf and you give them to someone who doesn't know how to golf. You're going to get different results. So I think that is a big challenge. But I think the tools, they're improving all of the time. The latest release from ChatGPT has more of an inbuilt memory in it now, and it can remember the stuff and it kind of banks the stuff that you give it. And it's very intuitive and produces stuff at a very high quality.
And in general then, Jack, is the world of PR actually embracing AI?
Well, look, it's a spectrum. You'll get everybody from people who are really embracing it to people who are the gatekeepers who are really suspicious. And generally people sometimes fall in the middle. What's really important is crafting really good stories that can be consumed and digested easily by journalists to get them out on the airwaves, to get them on blogs, to get them online. So it's a transaction. And where I come from, Karl, is if AI helps you get your stories out in front of people quicker in a more digestible way, then it's definitely worth it.
Now, I've invited you on to discuss the 2024 Global Comtech Report. Talk to us about this.
Yeah, so this year MediaHQ has decided to sponsor the 2024 Global Comtech Report. Comtech is communications technology, and for the last 15 years we've been building technology to help people take the grunt work out of public relations. So for example, MediaHQ helps people find journalists and send press releases out. What the Global Comtech Report does is it interviews hundreds and hundreds of PR people from all over the world. It finds out what technology they're using, what they're not using, what's stressing them out, and it gives a window into what are the trends for 2025 and beyond. Will it be AI? Will it be automation? Will it be other technologies that people are using? And it'll help people working in the industry to see what's coming around the next corner and ways in which, when they're spending their budget at this time of the year, what should they be doing?
So what type of insights are you hoping to garner from this research?
It's twofold. I think one is to see what actually people are doing on the ground. So everything from how they're managing their teams, how they're being more productive. I give you an example. This time last year, we added in 2,500 podcasts into MediaHQ. And when I sent out the press release about the Global Comtech report, 2 or 3 opportunities came in that I wouldn't have got before. So by adding in new research, we were able for people to get their story further and faster, seeing what good habits people have, what bad habits people have, but also just the resource that people can kind of get tips on how they can be better in the year ahead.
And what were the challenges facing journalists last year?
Well, look, we're in a kind of a post-truth society now, and I think that's always a challenge. I also think, the skill set of journalists is a big challenge. There's less money in the traditional media, in inverted commas, and journalists are doing everything from video, audio, print now. So every journalist worth their salt is kind of like a Swiss Army knife, and in the longer run, that under-resourced probably isn't sustainable, and lots of journalists are a little bit stressed out now being asked to do a lot of things.
Aside from AI, what are the other technologies that could innovate PR going forward?
Yeah, I think there's huge scope in PR around removing the grunt work and removing data entry. And I suppose, one thing that we're not getting any more of is time. And one of the things the report will focus on is ways in which you can bring technology and automation into your in-house team or into your agency. What I'm focused on in MediaHQ is how people do that with media contacts. And still in 2024, we have 9 of the 15 government departments using MediaHQ, but 6 of them aren't. 6 of them are still hammering away, fixing bounced emails and paying civil servants to do that. Same in agencies, same in in-house teams. So it's all about innovation and how innovation can give the gift of time back to people so they can solve the really difficult jobs like negotiating with journalists, dealing with crises, briefing people, media training, all of the higher value things that actually get you good results.
I am hearing as well that since Elon Musk took over Twitter and now, of course, X, journalists are less reliant on it.
Yeah, and for me, the only social media that's on my phone now, Karl, is LinkedIn. And let's be honest, if you're spending too much time on LinkedIn, there's something wrong with you. And it's a good network for business networking, but you're not going to be spending hours on it. Twitter is definitely, X is definitely debased. And I think we're also getting into a place where people are uber conscious now of the level of distraction in their lives. And I do think in the years to come that cut through, that attention economy is going to be harder to grab people's attention because people are beginning to realize that we're going around very adult now and really trying hard to kind of come back into the moment and not to be spending their lives on social and digital media.
And of course, with so much fake news doing the rounds on social media and digital platforms, is it ultimately going back to the big brands that people are going to trust the fact-check information for them going forward?
Yeah, and look, in so much as there's been fake news and there's been all of that, the Financial Times, The Economist, the New York Times, The Guardian, a lot of the international kind of branded names in the media have done really well in the last number of years. The big problem, and it's, we can discuss it another day, it's too big a topic for this interview, but part of the problem with fake news is that people are right-minded people are very concerned about fake news. A lot of the people who receive the fake news couldn't care less. They don't care that it's fake. And that's a whole other argument. So, the right-minded people think, God, this is terrible, there's false information going out. And people who are just kind of titillated or excited by it or entertained by it, they could care less whether it's true or false. And that's a big problem that's coming, that's going to need to be tackled kind of in the years ahead.
And where's that coming from, that mindset?
Suppose, look, if you're on TikTok all day, every day, and if you're, people just want to be entertained and excited, they don't really care if stuff is, and I suppose there's been a leveling of the playing field. So, if I can put up a video of my cat and I can get 2 million views, and that's getting as much attention as an announcement from a prime minister, the value of information kind of gets watered down. So, I was talking to someone earlier on about Malcolm Gladwell in The Tipping Point, and one of the great examples he used was they used to spend millions and millions on getting children to stop smoking. And the inherent message was, it's not cool to smoke. But then the research found was kids didn't smoke to be cool. The cool kids smoked. So it was a completely different argument. And with fake news, part of the problem is that the people receiving the fake news don't really care that it's true or false. And that's, I think, the nub of the problem that needs to be tackled.
And ultimately, is the other nub of the problem that has to be tackled the algorithms?
Yeah, and look, regulation and putting social media accounts on the hook for libel, for abuse, for hatred. And look, we saw moves in legislation in recent weeks about that. And there needs to be a big reckoning on that. Like, you can't put something out on the radio to libel somebody. You can't put something on print to libel someone, but you can do it on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. And that's wrong. And as soon as the companies are put on the hook for all of these things and have to pay society for it, I think, that's definitely one of the things that will help clean it up.
With regard to the algorithms, if you get their attention, the humans will follow.
Yes, exactly. And I think, if you tackle the bank balances of the big social media networks, then you'll get a reaction. It has to be a concerted effort from jurisdictions around the world.
Finally, Jack, what do you think the world of PR might look like in 5 years' time?
Completely different. I've been very lucky, Karl. I've been in this business 15 years. My job completely changes every 2 or 3 years. This time 2.5 years ago, AI was just kind of a concept that we were all aware of, and now we're right slap bang in the middle of it. So who knows what will happen in 5 years' time. I think traditional audiences will become smaller but more important, and I think a lot of the other audiences will be, there'll be continue to be podcasts. I think influencers will find as big a groove as they ever had. But definitely a mixture in flux, less media, but the ones that are there will be more important.
Well, if you've just tuned in, that was Jack Murray, the founder of MediaHQ. And I'd like to thank Jack for sharing his insights into the world of PR with us this morning.
Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.